What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Simon Burden here with a new sort of video. This is the first time I've ever done a top 10 list, and it's also a video that's not even about a game. So, this is really out of my element, as normally my videos are strictly just gaming and playthroughs. So, this is going to be quite interesting to see how people react and if they want more top 10 lists, which I hope you guys do because it means more content to give you guys. So I'm going to be doing a top 10 list of the scariest Buffy the Vampire Slayers demons slash monsters. Now, for those that don't know, Buffy the Vampire Slayer is a TV series that happened between 1997 and 2003. It's one of the more, I- I'd say underrated, but it definitely does have a following. But I feel like some people don't appreciate it as much as what it should be. Now, as you could tell, Saki is not here with me today. The reason why is because she's not feeling well enough to be in a video, and secondly, she's not a fan of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So, it's not something she would enjoy being a part of. So, please bear in mind two things. A, this video is about my personal opinions of these monsters slash demons. So if your favorite demon or monster isn't on this, that's just how it is. You can comment down below what you think will be the scariest demons and why. And the second thing is the images are not great. Look, these are monsters from a TV series that aired in the late 1990s to early 2000s. The images are not great. I had to go with what I worked with. So just just sort of like take that into consideration, okay? So let's get started with our number 10 entry, the Uber Vamp, aka the Turok Han. These are essentially ancient vampires. We as humans have Neanderthals, the vampires have the Turok Han. Um, these vampires are stronger than normal, to the point where they're actually able to go blow to blow, if not straight up outpower Buffy Summers herself. And it's the first one that we see is kind of so like the I feel like the first one that we saw was the strongest of them all because after that one, even those that were going to be the next chosen ones were sat were able to outpower them somehow. Even people that didn't have powers, such as Xander and Dawn, were able to outpower them by the end of the last series, which is a shame because the Ubervamps had a lot of potential to actually be a major threat to the Vampire Slayer herself. To then just get relegated to, being beaten up by Xander and Dawn. And let's face it, if Xander can like outpower you, something was wrong. Um, they're also a bit more resilient. As I said, they were able to outpower Buffy in like the first few episodes, and they were also able to take some blows from her as well. They have super speed just like regular vampires to the point where it's almost like they teleport. They're able to sneak behind Buffy in the first few episodes and just straight up like catch you off guard. And they're intelligent enough to follow orders from the first evil, the quote unquote main bad guy of the entire franchise, considering the first evil came. I forget which season it is, but I remember the episode because it's meant to be a Christmas episode, and it's like haunting Angel. I say haunting with quotation marks. Um, and it basically tries to get him to turn himself into dust by letting the sun fry him alive in the morning. Which of course Buffy obviously stops, talks some sense into him. They're also intelligent enough to make their own weapons, as we see in one of the episodes of season 7. Um, After our Uber vamp, our number 9 entry is The Judge. And oh boy, again, there was a lot of potential for this thing. Oh, but it was so wasted. I'm sorry, but I find Judge Judy freaking scarier than this thing. The judge was a powerful ancient demon which, in ancient times, was cut up into separate pieces. So its head, its torso, its arms, its legs, they were all cut up and separated into the different corners of the globe. Um, it was eventually then put together by Spike and Drusilla not long after, or maybe even during, Buffy. No, it was actually Buffy's birthday when he was finally put together. And at this point, he had to touch his victims for his power to work on them, which was essentially burning out their, again in quotation marks, humanity. Apart from anything that was truly wicked. So, once Angel lost his soul, it wouldn't work on him. As we see, as Angel starts, being a bit cocky, going, it slightly tickles and stuff like that. Which I admit was quite funny. When he uses this power, it disintegrates the target and he gets stronger from it. And when it comes to the shopping mall scene, where he's about to, murder a lot of people, how's he dealt with? A rocket launcher. So, in the modern day, if the judge was a real thing, sorry, but the military would get him at some point with a rocket launcher. It's safe to say this guy wouldn't last for long. But I'll admit it was a badass moment for the Scooby Gang just to use a straight up military grade weapon to blow him up. However, because they weren't sure he was you know, properly dealt with, in other words, even if you were to put him together again, he wouldn't rise. So they decided to again scatter his pieces, probably for the best. Our number 8 entry, Mother Bizarre. So how this thing got higher than the judge? One simple thing. It was able to lead humans into an experiment to see who do well in parenting by giving a health teacher its eggs. So it was able to give a health teacher its eggs, and he then gave them to the students of Sunnydale High. Once the eggs hatched, she would then get her little hatchlings to drain the students before her little hatchlings attach themselves to the students and get them to use pickaxes to try and set it free from underneath the school and collect more of the eggs. If it hadn't been for Buffy and Xander, because Xander was surprisingly smart without even realizing it, by hard boiling his egg, and Buffy managed to fight off the hatchling from her egg, it would have just been another vicious cycle till the world was under its control. It was subtle, unlike the judge, and you know, as I said in the last entry, the judge would have been blown up at some point. The other power of the Beezor is absorption. And not just of humans, we see it absorb a vampire when Buffy and one of the Gorge brothers are fighting, and one of the Gorge brothers ends up falling into it. Buffy also gets absorbed when it ends up pulling Buffy in, but of course, Buffy ends up grabbing a pickaxe and kills it from inside. which then all kills all of its hatchlings. But hey, it did more than the judge did. So got a bit of it. Our number 7 entry is the Fjord Demon. And I'm not gonna lie, the way we see this demon is just absolutely hilarious. It's not even a normal Fjord demon. The one we see is Giles when he gets turned into a Fjord demon by Ethan Wayne. Uh, so we normally wouldn't know anything about it other than the Fjord demon's strength. However, thanks to Spike running into Giles as a Fjord demon, it's Spike that gives us a bit of information on what the Fjord demon is capable of doing. As I said, it's got the super strength capabilities, which is natural for a demon that's technically a foot soldier. The next one is a bit on the gross side. The other power for the Fjord demon is a paralyzing mucus, and I wish I was kidding. They use the mucus in their nose, which can paralyze a target. It's then able to solidify, becoming hard and durable. Just imagine this thing paralyzing you in the comfort of your home while something else that wants to kill you approaches you and you're just stuck there, unable to move or even scream. This takes place during the time where Buffy is in college, and I forget the name of the teacher, but one of the teachers, and it's the one that Buffy is the most acquainted with due to the whole like the commandos or the Inquisition or whatever they're called. Um, Giles absolutely hates. Giles ends up seeing her in the street when he is a fjord demon and just chases after her. It is hilarious. But not only is this mucus disgusting, why did it have to be nasal mucus? What if they sneeze? Do they accidentally paralyze the person that they're near? Do they accidentally paralyze other fjord demons when they sneeze? Or the person that they work for? Trying to have a conversation? Like, good God. It's just one of the most ridiculous powers, but it's so effective, but good God, it's so inconvenient. Oh, number 6 is the Brotherhood of Seven. Here you can see Mark, the one of the 7 demons, and he's at the talent show getting his ass kicked by Buffy. We only ever see the one of this Brotherhood of Seven. Um, and that's because Sid the Puppet killed the other 6. But they can still be quite terrifying as they take the form of humans, so they could end up being one of your friends, family member, teacher, fellow students, colleagues, etc. However, that's all they get, and it's kind of meh as they need a healthy human heart and brain every 7 years to keep their human form. Bear in mind I say healthy, so if you've got heart conditions or if you've got like something wrong with your brain, like a tumor or something, then your heart and your brain is completely useless to them. They still might try to cut you up, but once they realize that there's something wrong with your brain or heart, they're not going to bother with you. And also, if a bloody puppet can deal with them, they're clearly not that good. But they're still terrifying nonetheless, mainly just due to the fact that they can disguise themselves as humans. So, maybe a sibling or a family member of yours could be one of these 7. Better keep your eyes out on them. Number 5, the Gentleman. I tried to get a picture that has as many of them as possible, just so you can see how weird looking these guys are. The gentlemen were demons from fairy tales and had some demon footmen to do the muscle work for them. Whilst they don't seem all that terrifying, mainly because look at those freaking grins, but I mean the one in the front of the picture. I'm sorry, but even with that grin, you're still terrifying as hell. um, they are more terrifying than what they look, and that's mainly due to their abilities. And we're going to go with the one that makes them the most terrifying, and that is the voice manipulation. They're able to use a magic box which steals the voices of the inhabitants of a town that they, come into. So obviously when they come into Sunnydale, they hide in the clock tower, they use this magic box, and everybody's voice in the morning is just gone. This essentially makes it so that they can't call for help. They're not even able to use a phone to try and contact someone in a different city. They can't call the police, and even if they did, they couldn't say anything, and neither could the police in the city. Um, and that's also that they can not be able to communicate when they're in trouble, which comes not long after. But we're gonna get to that. The next ability is levitation. Nothing really special, sadly. Lastly, its durability. According to the research that Charles did, there hasn't been a known weapon to kill the gentleman apart from a loud human voice. Now, as for how they kill by getting their footmen to pin their targets down as they slowly surgically remove the hearts of their victims. They only need to get 7 hearts, uh, but sadly, it's never explained why they're in need of them. Number 4. Sweet. This charismatic. Oh, I love this guy. He is the most charismatic of the demons. And it's just amazing. He's in the episode known as Once More with Feeling. In fact, he's the reason why it's all a musical. And I say that mainly because of his powers. Xander is the one that summoned him without realizing it, but this guy is the reason that the entire place of Sunnydale is just constantly singing, constantly dancing. However, it's not all fun. Now, I will say this: Sweet is one of my favorite demons, but that's not the reason why he's on this list. If it was, he'd be higher than number 4. Um, I also love Spike's song in this episode. Anyway, Sweet is a terrifying demon for other reasons than what we've discussed for the others. After all, pent up emotions can be very powerful, and in this episode, people dance until they burn. As for the powers, we've already gone over the mind manipulation a little bit, anyway. So, he makes the people think they're in a musical, dancing and singing out to the point where they start singing and dancing about the secrets that they've kept within. However, if it's gone on too long, you're going to end up spontaneously combusting. Also, imagine doing a duet with your family. Things could go so wrong. Even a fiance, like just imagine, like with Xander and Anya, they do a duet. One wrong thing, those two would not have been married. They would have ended the relationship right there. Never mind later on in the friendship. Never mind later on in the series. Whew, boy. Another one of his powers is teleportation. Whilst he doesn't use it much, the only example being at the end of the episode, it's still kind of interesting to see if he do it to go ahead and make. Like, just imagine if he went ahead and did it to make the Russians sing and dance and vent out their frustrations. Oh wait, no, hold on. I don't know why I put that with the teleportation bit. Hmm. Anyway, next up, hypnosis. Well, it wasn't the kind of hypnosis we used to see in media, with the whole like clock swinging and such. He does still hypnotize people. He mainly only uses it on Dawn, and that's to lure her into dancing with him a little bit. Combustion, as I already said. Um, he's able to make people sing and dance until they spontaneously combust, which even almost happens to Buffy, and a part of her song just destroys her friends, letting they pulled her out of a heaven dimension instead of a hell dimension. And it just absolutely destroys her friends, and she even admits that she feels like she's in hell now that she's back on Earth. Reality warping. So many times he uses this. The main usage of it is to create background music for any song that's about to start in the episode. There are other examples such as ripping off his mouth without being in pain, causing a door to appear only to then have a burnt corpse fall through the door then disappear during his own song when he's singing and dancing with Dawn. And finally, power detection. He could smell Willow's raw magical power. Like, imagine if he was able to do this with our number one spot on this list. What would he be able to smell, and what would he say about that power? Like, goddamn. So yeah, Sweet has a lot of different powers that are really interesting and make him terrifying for different reasons. And that's why he's number 4 on the list. Number 3, we're going back to our more scarier demons in terms of looks and abilities. And that is the Der Kinderstod. The Der Kinderstod is at number 3 due to its terrifying nature and its abilities. We'll go over its abilities first, as always. The first one being invisibility. It is invisible to all adults and could only be seen by children and teenagers who are feverishly ill. Hence why Buffy is the only one of the Scooby Gang who can see it, because she is in hospital due to a fever. Um, He's also got razor sharp fingernails. It's able to use these to kill those who are standing in its way. For example, Dr. Backer, who was trying to cure the kids of their fever. And he also used these fingernails to fight off a feverish slayer. And now for the way it kills people with its last ability. It uses its extendable eye stalks, which allows it to turn its eyeballs into suckers that extend from its head and latch onto its victims, leeching off their life force. The dead bodies would look as if they died from a fever. And what does it kill? Children! I really wish I was kidding, but the child ward in the hospital is basically a buffet for this guy. And if there was loads of these guys, like one in every city, good God, just make sure there's not some sort of epidemic that's causing a fever. Otherwise, these guys are having a field day. Like, Christ. Number 2, Moloch. This guy has two different forms. We're going to go over what he is just in general at first. Moloch is a demon known as Moloch the Corruptor. And without a doubt, he's one of the more terrifying demons due to his abilities. Even just in his demon form, he had super strength that could cause him to break necks without an issue, which we see right at the beginning of the episode that he's in. The second one is mind manipulation, which works on impressionable minds. Nowadays, a lot of people are impressionable because they're all wanting something or they're really gullible. But, I'm sorry to say, but that is the case. And he uses this to sort of trick people into following him and promising them, their desire or some power. Um, for his digital form, he gets a lot more. And yes, I know he looks a little bit like some sort of machine that you'd see in like the Terminator franchise or something. But in his digital form, so he gets this form due to Willow scanning the Book of Moloch. He gained even more powers. The most disastrous would be his technopathy. Think of it as telepathy. However, it's more along the lines with machines instead of the human mind. This can range from randomizing traffic lights, which is mild, to getting nuclear launch codes to destroy the world. Also, if he was real and he had his digital form, yeah, he could blow up the world in seconds. And quite frankly, with the way the world is nowadays, I wouldn't blame him in the slightest. But that's not all. He also has digital omniscience, making him capable to know what people are doing at all times on anything digital. I don't even think VPNs would stop this guy. God help it if it doesn't. I know the search, trust me, I know the search history of some type of people. It ain't gonna be pretty. Even he'll be disgusted with humanity. Lastly, mechanical possession. So long as it had a computerized operating system, he could possess it. Giant lasers going rogue, anybody? Without a doubt, if his book was scanned and he was let loose on the internet today, we would be screwed. And in seconds. And in his hands in seconds, as everything nowadays is digital, and he can see all of it. Best hope you know a witch slash Wiccan slash techno pagan. Because if this guy comes to your neck of the digital woods, you're gonna need one. Oh, lastly, Glovificus. The actress that played Glovificus just executed the way Glorificus should be just perfectly. Excellent, excellent costume for Glorificus. I know she's not technically a demon or anything, but if anything, she's stronger than one. She is a hell god. In other words, she is a goddess of a hell dimension. So she's on the list just for that alone. And we don't really know the origins of a hell god, so for all we know, she could have started off as a demon. Yeah. And just work her way up to a state of significant power. But as I say, it never gets specified, so. And we actually will never know, I feel, considering I think even the comic books for Buffy the Vampire Slayer are also stopped. I could be wrong, but I've never really looked into the comic books. Now, Glorificus definitely has some weaknesses, but we're not going over them as it would make this entry longer. So we're just gonna go for the powers. Firstly being her near invulnerability. The only thing able to harm her significantly is divine weapons, such as a troll god's hammer. Nothing else even slows her down apart from magic, and even then it's not for as long as a divine weapon. Next up, super strength. This is an obvious one for a hell god, but yes, she has super strength, even stronger than the Slayer, which is shown by just throwing Buffy into a wall to the point where the wall ended up with cracks upon Buffy's impact. Another, you know, another example of her super strength is to punch through Willow's force field. Willow is a pretty powerful, full-fledged witch by the time Glorificus comes by. And for her to just punch through that force field takes some real serious power. Next up, super speed. Honestly, the speed is almost as good as a vampire's, but not quite. Because we're still able to see Glorificus when she does her super speed. Granted, she's like a blurred friggin' slideshow with how fast she is, but we can see it nonetheless. So it doesn't go as high, she doesn't go as fast as a vampire, so it's not upon the bordering upon teleportation levels of speed, but it's there nonetheless. Superhuman hearing. This isn't shown often, but she was able to hear Dawn go up the stairs discreetly as Glorificus was talking to Buffy in the living room. This increased the tension so much simply just due to the fact we didn't know what Glorificus would do, as she was highly unpredictable. And if she was able to just hear Dawn going up the stairs, what would she be able to hear nowadays? Just imagine if someone like talked a lot of shit about her behind her back, like discreetly as well. Whew. Next one's a rough. Sanity and memory absorption. We'll go with the sanity first. And I'll say this one thing. She wouldn't get much in terms of sanity from me. But yes, she is able to absorb the mental sanity from people, which ends up draining someone, and they are left to be just a stammering mess, causing them to not really talk or move much without the help of someone they can trust, which can be the case of those with severe mental illnesses. If you have anything that can like cause you to not really do much during the day, please try and get some help. Um, but yes, when she does this, she can also look into their memories and know a lot about them. I believe she also tries to do this with Tara, but ends up learning nothing, sadly. The next one is the Shroud of Illusion. Whilst this was simply due to the fact that she had a vessel, it made anyone who saw the vessel switch to her in front of them forget it even happened. Not really terrifying, but not having a few sec but having a few seconds of your memory just disappear right away is unfortunate and can cause some paranoia in some people. And when I say the vessel, I'm talking about Ben, who was just a hospital nurse. So yeah, this character also did a lot of gender swapping to an extreme extent, like constantly going back and forth, and sometimes not willingly. The next up would be creature identification. Again, not terrifying, but it was helpful for her to have on her hunt for the key. For example, her stupid minions brought Spike thinking he was the key, and she could immediately tell that he wasn't and he was just an ordinary vampire. Those friggin' those friggin' minions were stupid, I swear to. Finally, omnilingualism. In other words, knowing every human and demon language possible. Whilst that in itself doesn't really seem terrifying, it can link up to her using her mystical powers, which is essentially spells and magic and so on. And with the amount of magical energy she has, it could cause her to do a lot of different spells, some of which are needed to be said in the ancient tongue to actually be able to do something. So, after all of that, yeah, that's the personal opinion That is my top 10 list of the scariest demons and monsters of the Buffyverse, at least for the TV series. If you want in any other top 10 lists, maybe say it down below in the comments section and I'll look to see if it's something I know much about or if it's something I can get a lot of research on. I do plan on doing another one next year for Halloween, and that's going to be the top 10 scariest Pokemon based on the Pokedex entries. But as I say, that's for next year for Halloween, and I'll probably do that with Saki. So, I hope you all enjoyed. As I say, this is my first top 10, so don't expect anything special for the in terms of like editing or anything, because I'm not really good with that sort of thing. So, hope you all enjoyed. Remember, if your if the ones you thought were scary and in this, comment down below. And just sort of give a little bit of a reason as to why, what they did, and so on to make you think that they were quite scary. However, until the next recording session that I do, which will be before I hit my blood money again, where hopefully I'll do the casino. Um, I think there's another one. I think there's some sort of party one where I have to kill two targets, but they're in different sections. And lastly, the White House mission. I shall see you all then. Goodbye. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Oh, and as this is going up on Halloween, just before people will go trick or treating, to all those that are trick or treating this year, make sure your parents, or if you're a parent yourself, please make sure the children's candy get checked, because sadly there are some people out there in the world that are just absolute crazy people who decide to just put in razor blades, needles, syringes and stuff into children's chocolates when the children come to their door for Halloween. Please, I beg you, check the children's candy. It's not fair for your children to end up in hospital because someone decided to ruin your child's Halloween. Things like that could end up ruining Halloween and making it less celebrated and less appreciated than what it should be. So please, keep your kids safe. If you're going trick or treating with your kids, please, for the love of God, check your children's candy before they eat it. Because the last thing you want is to be going to A&E the same night because of someone else. Have a good Halloween, everybody, and remember to keep safe.